I would like you to do an exercise. So let's imagine that we walk down the street and there's a camera that can say in a few seconds our name, our age, our income, if we're married, if we have kids, if we have a lover. So now, what if this happens and that our data is being taken and can be linked to us every day? So now I ask you, what if there was a technology that we can decide to wear every day to prevent this from happening? Well, this technology exists. It's patented, and it's a garment, or rather, it's a collection of garments. This is the first fashion collection that can protect the wearer's biometric data. This is called the Manifesto Collection, and thanks to this collection and thanks to my startup, I can address the privacy issue in our modern society. In 2017, Andrew Ferguson, who's a professor of law, says, "In truth, you live in a surveillance state. The watchers know you because of the data you leave behind." And then in 2003, David Hood says, "We can no longer know for sure whether we are or whether we are not under surveillance. By whom or why?" And then there's this last sentence I want to read to you. It says, "There's no way of knowing whether you were being watched at any given moment." This last sentence doesn't come from a research paper. It's not a professor who wrote it. But most of all, it was written in 1947, so it was not written right now. And the one who wrote it is George Orwell. And this sentence comes from 1984. So George Orwell tried to describe a dystopian future. But this dystopian future really has many points in common to our contemporaneity. And this is why I want to talk to you about this. But first of all, I want to do a distinction between these kind of cameras that are facial recognition cameras and security cameras. These security cameras record our image, while those with biometric system can capture our facial signature, and they collect this facial signature to our personal data and then store everything in large databases. So the Manifesto Collection only deals with this kind of technology. And of course, like we're talking about biometric data. Biometric data are these personal data linked to our physical, physiological, or behavioral characteristic, which allows or confirms our unique identification. This kind of data will stay with us throughout all our life. So for instance, here in the room, someone could have my same name, and I can even decide to change my name. But I will never have someone else's fingerprint. And I can never decide to change my fingerprint. Other biometric data are DNA, iris image, and our facial signature. This is captured thanks to facial recognition cameras. And these cameras present many problematics. First of all, there's the problem of consent. This is because facial recognition cameras are placed in public spaces or in private spaces open to the public. So I walk in the street, or I enter a store, or I'm sitting here right now, and maybe there's a camera, but I don't even see the camera, so I don't know if my data is taken or not. So of course, I'm not able to give my consent or my dissent. Another problem is linked to human rights. So this technology denies numerous human rights, from the right to privacy, to freedom of expression, freedom of association, and freedom of movement. And then it's discriminatory, in particular against ethnic minorities, at-risk groups, but also people with mental problems, or women, or minors, or non-binary people. For instance, this technology can say if you're a man or if you're a woman, only decided it by the way you look. Another problem is that it's inaccurate, and there will never be enough data for it to be accurate. So until 2020, only in the United States, 3 men were arrested and went to jail because of an error of this technology. And then last point is that it's widespread. To date, 110 states are using the technology, the ones that we see there in pink. So considering all this, we can see that there are many problems, but most of all, there are two problems. First of all, there's a lack of awareness. Data has become the primary resource of the economy, but most of the time, we are not aware of this. And there's the tendency not to sufficiently protect our own wealth and uniqueness. And most of the people are not in a position to develop an informed opinion on the deployment of this technology. The second problem concerns that we don't have a protection for this. And this is why we really wanted to create a physical protection that at the same time was creating awareness and was given the possibility to make a choice. And this is why we started working on the Manifesto Collection. But of course, like right now, probably you are asking, but how is this possible? How did you actually develop a protection which is also legal, no? Without covering the face? Because of course, like I can protect my biometric data if I walk in the street with a mask. But of course, like this is not legal. So we started from adversarial patches that are digital images that can confuse the algorithm in the facial recognition systems. And then we converted these digital images into knitwear. So we transformed every stitches into a pixel. We did this using the computerized knitting machines that are these huge machines and the programming of these machines. So then we obtained the adversarial knitted textile in the physical world. Then we started from this in order to create a garment. This garment is protecting the wearer at 360 degrees. So we can see here how we tested with YOLO, the fastest object recognition software. The person who's not wearing the Manifesto Collection is identified as a person. The other one is not. Maybe the software is seeing zebras or dogs or giraffes, but it's not a person. The important thing is that the face of the wearer is not inside this bounding box. So if my face is not inside the bounding box of the software, then my data is not taken. And this is what's happening to this guy, no? And then we have this video in which we can see how, first of all, this is not an invisible clock. Not everyone here in the room can look at the model with the one who's wearing the orange sweater, and we're all able to say, okay, that's a person. But the artificial intelligence cannot say so. So we're only confusing the artificial intelligence. So how everything started. It was 2019. I was living in New York, and I was working there after a university exchange, and I met a computer science engineer. With this computer science engineer, we started a conversation on privacy and human rights, in particular linked to the ever-increasing use of facial recognition cameras. It was an extremely fertile environment. And on the same year, in 2018, in Brooklyn, a black community won a lawsuit against an apartment complex that was using the facial recognition cameras. In New York, Amnesty International launches the Ban the Scan campaign against the use of facial recognition cameras. So in this context, I sought a solution to this problem. And my solution was to create a protection. A protection not only for minors or women or ethnic minorities, but for everyone. A solution, a protection that everyone can decide to wear every day to protect the most vulnerable and human part of us. So this is how everything started. And then when I left New York, I had a thought in mind. So I wanted this to be my final project at university. And so I was able to do so when I moved to Tel Aviv. And there was an amazing textile department at university. And I was, during the pandemic, I was still able to go to the university, and I developed 7 MVPs. With these 7 MVPs, I then moved back to Milan, and I patented the technology. When I graduated, I was like, no, it cannot all be done, no? I wanted to continue with this project. I wanted to continue sharing these values. And I was able to do so. This is thanks to my PhD at the Politecnico di Milano, and this is thanks to my startup, Capable. So now, the Manifesto Collection, we can all say that it's been a process, right? It's a process through time. It's a process that in which I put myself, I put my roots, my studies, the people I've met, and the places I've lived. So right now, the Manifesto Collection is actually an act that we can do to be aware of a situation in which most of the time we are unaware. It's an act of awareness. And this is my response to this. By creating this garment that makes us invisible to artificial intelligence and makes us super visible to other people. We have all seen that these garments are super colorful, right? So this is my response to the violation of privacy. And now I'm super curious. I would like to know your response, the response you will give to this. So I thank you all. And this is the Manifesto Collection.